I am so excited. Oh, this one really got you. Did Eric?
Oh yeah, it's there's a whole it yeah, I'll get into it, but
Yeah, I guess let me go ahead and just intro it before we get
jeez, yeah.
into it. Welcome to the Game With Us podcast. We are here to talk about episode 5 of The Last of Us, Endure and Survive. How are you doing, Eric?
Ugh, that one was hard for me. They've all been very like heavy emotional tolls, but yeah, I feel like this episode convinced me that like it's not a happy ending. I don't know. We'll see. Like I'm now like, oh no, I'm worried for the end of this.
Where's this going? Yeah.
Yeah, the only good ending we've gotten so far is Bill and Frank both killing themselves,
I know.
right?
Bill and Frank
And
won.
even that,
I mean,
They won.
yeah, the closest you can get to it, and it was still such a, yeah,
Yeah.
oh, it's like a sad story still.
Yeah, they definitely got the happiest ending that you could possibly get in this world. So.
Right. Yeah, and it was still less than ideal, I would say, I think, in a lot of ways, but yeah, man. So we can do a more organized attack, so I don't just dive straight into the conclusion, because that's a lot of what got
well,
me.
speaking of the elephant in the room, what did you think of Henry and Sam?
So Henry seemed very accurate to
Mhm.
the game. I loved the changes that they made with Sam. Like, I think making him younger and more vulnerable was really smart. I had the concern last time we talked about the previous episode where we noticed he was deaf in the trailers, and I was really concerned how they were going to handle the communication.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And I think the way they did it was really smart. And I just loved that Ellie just wanted so badly to communicate with someone else. Like, it didn't matter that Sam couldn't hear her and he didn't speak. She was just like, I'm going to talk to this kid. And that was...
Especially someone her age, well,
Yeah.
roughly around her age. She's not being surrounded by these boomers.
Yeah.
And
well, and right, yeah, closer at least in the same.
you can tell she was even bonding with Henry's like sassiness, because Henry's definitely not like pushing 55 like Joel is. He's definitely a little younger.
And like, yeah, even from the get go, when she like introduces herself and then like smacks Joel to like,
Dude.
yeah, like, come on, like and
Make small talk.
yeah, like,
Right.
be nice, you dick.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a test move. It felt like too. That was one of the things throughout the episode. There's small bits where Ellie's like picking up some of those like, emotional direction jobs for Joel. Like, no, dude, like you need a compass kind of still. And
Yeah. No, that's a smart observation.
It's interesting the way they're. Yeah, I don't know. It's still like a tag team effort almost, where like, yeah, Ellie doesn't help as much with the dealing with zombies and infected and stuff, but she, I think, was integral in diffusing the initial like scene that we left off with at the end of the last episode. Like, Joel was making that worse.
Everything's great.
Oh my god.
Right.
What a line delivery, man. Oh.
Because it's funny, because in the game, how they meet is that Joel and Ellie sneak through a window, Henry ambushes him, Joel gets the upper hand, and he starts beating the shit out of him, and then Ellie has to point out to Joel, hey, there's a kid with a gun pointing at us, and he stops beating the crap out of Henry, and they're like, oh, hey, sorry, and then they become buddies.
Yeah. That's basically how it goes.
Like, he's like laying into him.
I like the way that this works, because it, like Henry looks like he's got it together a lot more than he does. Like, that's kind of the whole thing, is he's just trying to, there are 2 unloaded guns there. Like, nobody had bullets.
I was really happy about that because, like, I pointed out last time we talked that, like, it didn't make sense that Henry would give an 8-year-old a gun. And it's like, it's not loaded.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor and him both.
Say, speaking of the doctor, man, the beginning scene of seeing Henry and Sam like hide from the convoy, and they're all like, collaborators will receive a fair trial, but they're like literally like pulling a body full of knives. And I really loved getting to see and almost
was that knives?
Oh yeah, it was definitely knives.
Looked like it was stuck full of,
Also, I was wondering, I was really impressed by like seeing the revolution happen, and this made me realize, like, wow, so they like just revolted.
Yeah.
10 days ago or something. I think.
Pretty much. They just took it over. They're like, they really are like in that phase in which kind of like Craig described it on the podcast, and we talked about it too, that phase in the post-revolution in which you're dealing with the quote-unquote collaborators and the traitors, and like if they find anyone who's a collaborator, the only trial they're gonna get is like a bullet to the head, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's if they're lucky, because you guys saw what they were doing to the FEDRA guys. If they got shot in the head, they got lucky. It was horrific.
That was the...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a well put together cut from the celebration. Everybody's standing around cheering, and it's the and then you cut over to the darker scene of like the troops, and it's like dead bodies and this carnage that's happening is like really cool setup right at the beginning to just sort of show like, yeah, this is not good either, kind of. I guess.
And Melanie Linsky as Kathleen, man, she is fucking scary. Just how like heartless and cold she is.
Ugh.
Like when she was talking to, like, basically interrogating those group of people, and then when she left the room and just like, burn the bodies when you're done. Just like so callous.
Yeah.
No, they're not getting fair trials. Like, what? Like, she's like, oh my God, come on. Obviously not. Like,
she literally gets so annoyed that she has to spell it out for poor Perry.
Yeah, it was, and the people in the, stuck down there was no winning that. Like, if they didn't tell, they were like, they're against her because they were willing to, inform for FEDRA or whatever. But if they do, then they're rats and they can't be trusted. So, like, they were already dead before she walked in there in her mind, essentially. And like, it's just really scary. Ugh. Yeah, like you were saying, this is another good role for people. It seems like nobody lasts more than an episode, really. As well.
It's like the original Game of Thrones days. You could see a character in an episode, and like, I give them like 2 episodes before they get fucking axe murdered.
I don't need 2 is a long lifespan in this show. That is far above average.
I mean,
what, Tess made 2?
Right?
Tess made 2 episodes.
Yeah, right. It's some of our longer folk, and like, all the people who didn't even make it a whole episode.
You know what's funny, Eric? The game is the exact same way. I'm like, if this character survives 2 hours of game time, I'd be surprised.
Well, it's like by the time you reach Henry and Sam, you're like, this can't end well. Nothing has ended well.
Right.
And then you get past Henry and Sam, and it's like, okay.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah, this is it.
All right.
This is it's all sad endings here, I guess. Best case scenario is still a really like tear-jerking ending, probably. That's my I'm convinced now, essentially, that it's steeling myself for a very sad ending to all of this.
I'd plead the fifth in that statement.
Ugh. Yeah, right. No, please don't tell me if I'm right or not. But I just wanted on record that
you've made a prediction.
I've lost hope.
Man,
God.
when Henry talks about like the Kansas City Fedra being as brutal as they were, I can't help but think like it's interesting how like there are different like sects of Fedra. And it's interesting
Yeah.
to see, like, even though they're supposed to be like, the idea was supposed to be this like united like coalition of like armed forces taking over the government. There are still parts that were nice, quote unquote, nicer than others. I mean, but the Boston QZ sucked. It sucked. But I mean, according to what Henry said, the Kansas City QZ makes the Boston QZ look like a paradise.
Yeah.
When like Joel had heard of the Kansas City, you know, he seemed to recognize their reputation as like especially monstrous. When, you know, it's like, so that far east, you know, all the way in Boston, there was word passing of the stuff they were doing, which was as like another cool world building element. Cool is not the right word. I say that too much, but
I mean, it's cool. It's cool because it's fictional.
Yeah, like well constructed, well executed.
Yeah.
But in that same vein, I was like, we saw how people could be put into the position where they're coerced, sort of into where it's, you know, death is the choice one way or the other. It's just sort of which one kind of like, yeah, I don't know. People down there, they could give information or not. That's probably a lot like what people felt like they were facing with FEDRA in most situations, which is like I don't know, just hits. Ugh.
No, it makes sense.
A whole episode, it's just beat after beat. It's like, oh, my soul.
The absolute hypocrisy of Joel saying he doesn't work with rats, by the way. Right, it's like he literally admitted to like robbing and killing innocent people over the years, but God forbid he works with a rat.
Yeah, like seriously, no, come on.
Like, dude, you are not one to judge anybody.
No, that's fair, I suppose. I also...
It's just drawing a moral line when it seems like Joel doesn't have very many.
Right. Yeah, and challenging it. Yeah, exactly. That's fair. That is fair. He's not an overly principled person.
I love Henry's response. Like, you do now.
Yeah, that was the right response too. It's like, nope, you don't get to play that game. We're not at that point right now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You want out of here? You're working with me.
Like Joel, you murdered like a teenager last episode, buddy.
Which?
Just saying. I saw you. Well, we all saw you do it.
The teenager also tried to kill him.
Yes, right, no, yeah.
But
that's, Brian.
It's true. That's true. But I mean, you know, still remorseless about
that was Kathleen's crew. They were out there running that scam.
Yeah.
That trap.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a really minor detail. I was just like, ooh. Like, yeah, it's weird. They are definitely a very violent crew, and that was like not a very permanent solution to the FEDRA problem. It seems like that wasn't going to last long.
Not with Kathleen running it.
Right. Yeah, that's a question. Like, do you guys honestly think with how Kathleen was running it, they could have lasted a year?
No. I don't know what she would have done once she like finally got Henry. Like that was her whole. I feel like, you know, Perry tells her, your brother didn't change anything, you did. And I feel like the only reason Kathleen changed anything was because she was so full of anger at her brother being killed. And she was finally like, all right, FEDRA's going down. And so once she resolved that anger with Henry, then what? Then where's her motivation? Like, what does she do at that point?
Right. Because otherwise it'd just be like...
It has to turn inward, it seems like. You paranoia and suspicion and finding more collaborators would be my thought. And then, so it's...
I really... Yeah.
And you can draw a lot of real world connections to like post-revolutionary states. I mean, like with places like that, I mean, there's always got to be an enemy, you know, and it's not just them too. FEDRA was like that as well with the Fireflies. Like there's always got to be like, you know, like if you're, especially with something like Kathleen, like if you're not 1% with her, I mean, you might as well be a collaborator at that point, you know, because that's how it works. Because if you're not with her, then you are the enemy.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like if Perry had stepped up and been like, because Perry seemed to know where the priorities needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, if you were in charge, things might have went a little differently.
That's what I was
He
expecting.
knows how to follow orders. That's, I think, especially if he's like, yeah, like it could very easily be someone who's like, no, I'm a hammer. I know I'm a hammer. Like, I won't be good at this problem solving thing. I have a limited area of expertise.
Yeah. I think he just admired Kathleen so much for causing change and rallying people when her brother couldn't. Like, I think he just got a lot of respect for her from that. But it was like, man, you really need to, when he's like going door to door to look for Henry's going to take a lot of time and there's other stuff we need to handle. And she's like, he's not my seventh priority. What's wrong with you? And I felt like those roles really needed, like Perry had it figured out. Like, Henry needs to be the seventh priority. There's other stuff that needs to be handled.
Henry needed to be way lower than that, honestly, too. Yeah, it's like food.
Yeah.
I totally expected this episode to have conflict between Perry and her, and I was surprised to see that like he was like fully on board with it. But a part of me thinks like I gotta wonder like if they did take care of the situation, that somebody, if she wanted to stay in charge, somebody would have to like pull a coup against her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. That's just me.
I think if it had lasted like a year, longer than 10 days, I think eventually someone would have been like, look, Kathleen created change, but she's not helping the situation anymore.
Like, she's just as bad as FEDRA, if not worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something would have moved, but they didn't really have the time to unseat her.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking the craziest thing that's different from Henry's plan in the show, Henry's plan in the game, is that it goes a lot smoother in the show. It goes a lot smoother in the show.
It does not go especially well. Like,
yeah. Well, you can't go into the sewers in a video game and be like, oh, there's nothing here. That would be a boring video game level.
Right.
And but so to that, it's I was like, what the hell? There's tunnels under Kansas City. Basically, Joel's like, there's this Kansas City has a subway. That was like my brain. Kansas City has like some 10 or 20%, I don't remember the numbers, but some substantial proportion of its industry takes place in underground like facilities. There's like a bunch of like natural limestone in the area and quarries and stuff. So there's like a whole mess of underground. It's like not just some maintenance tunnels. There's like a whole mess of railroad tunnels and like old mine shafts. They've like found homeless people who were living in like, single family house sized dug holes and like it's just a wild network. So looking into that and then realizing anybody who's from Kansas City was probably like, oh my God, that they're in the, they're underground. Oh no. It was like a cool connection to thing that did seem to be real. Like there probably really are tunnels in the vicinity they were talking about there.
We follow the group into the tunnels and we see that community that has vanished.
Yeah.
And someone, I didn't make the connection, but someone, I was watching people talk about the episode and they pointed out that like FEDRA might have actually, if FEDRA's the one driving the infected underground, they might have actually driven the infected through that compound. And that could be why we have the child clickers and stuff.
I didn't wow. And it man.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection at all. And I was like, oh.
People on
pretty effed up.
Yeah, no. Good connection.
Like if they didn't know people were down there.
Well, yeah, you're right.
They might not have known. They might not have cared even if they did know, but I don't even know if they would have known people were down there.
Liara, did you see the quick second little child drawing of Donnie and Ish?
Yes.
Wow. So Eric, there's this scene where Joel's looking at a piece of paper and it's a child drawing of two soldiers and under it says "Our Protectors."
Yeah.
In the game, there's a whole backstory of these two basically being like, I don't know if they're the leaders, but like the head honchos of that facility. Because in the game, it's outside of the facility, outside the city rather.
Okay.
And there's this like whole backstory of like how it got set up and how it all fell apart. And you find these notes written by Ish, which is the name of the character, and it's just neat to see that paper, to see that little reference and realize, wow, like there's like a whole backstory like to these tunnels that it's really neat that they saved that for the game. They let us of the gamers have
I was
it.
gonna say.
I imagine the
Yeah.
TV onlys were like super confused, like a who,
Well,
a what.
Who's this? It's just a drawing on a wall.
I was gonna say it's a minor moment to me. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't hold
Yeah.
too much time. It's not. It's centrally placed and everything, but it was just a drawing of two guards who it's like kids drawing the people with guns who were protecting them. Like from my perspective, which is what it was, but that it carries that much more weight to people who were as effective storytelling.
Yeah, that was really exciting.
Yeah, it's the exact same kind of like picture too, which I love that segment so much. Like Sam and Ellie playing soccer, just like in the game. They play soccer for a bit.
Nice. That was cute as well. Like
Yeah,
They found the Savage Lake comic books, which they're collectibles you can collect in the game. Ellie will find them.
mm-hmm.
Oh
And collect
man!
them.
So when she says she has that's okay.
Endure and survive.
Yeah. I didn't think they were gonna bring the comics books into the TV show, and so that was really excited. But it was just
I didn't look into that.
Mhm.
I was wondering. So that's like
Yeah.
a made for the show thing then, or the game. I mean,
yeah, it's a made up comic
Yeah.
series.
Okay.
What's neat is that I don't know if it is in the PS3 version, but in the PS5 version, they're published by Dark Horse Comics. Which is
yeah.
definitely like a real like comic book
Yeah.
publisher. And as somebody who reads a lot of comics, I was like, wait a minute, hold on a second.
Awesome.
Did they like actually get the right to say, hey, can we put your logo on a fake comic book?
I bet it was the other way. Probably Dark Horse was like, "Hey, we'll pay you to put our logo in your game."
Right? Because I swear I don't remember that from like the original version. Because I'm talking about the remake here.
Okay.
So I swear.
It
Yeah.
might. I don't know.
Maybe. But either way, I just thought it was neat. And I just love that they segment so much,
We'll
especially
give you X funding for the remaster if you put our logo in on the comics or something. That probably makes sense.
I love the beginning joke of Henry's like, "Oh, this plan's great," and Joel's like, "We've been here 2
The
seconds."
plan is good.
Yeah.
You cursed everything. How could you, Henry? This is all your
Right.
fault.
Right?
It's a very Henry moment of like
Yeah.
overconfidence.
Well,
like it's just how he is.
so there's the bit at the beginning with the doctor, and he says, he's talking to Henry about Sam. He says he's scared because you are, and like
Right.
kind of from that moment forward, he's putting on a face, or I guess a mask,
Like a
whatever,
false bravado.
front for Sam. Everything's gonna be fine, so Sam's not scared. And I think that it
Right.
links into that a bit. Like he is, I think more optimistic, but like I think he knows how bad it can get in some sense. Like he's had to make some pretty crappy compromises in himself to like survive. It's, different from Joel's, but kind of in service of protecting like different aspects too. I don't know. They keep doing this thing where the other people are like, here's how it could go. Here's how Joel and Ellie could be different. Here's how, it's just really cool storytelling. Keeps knocking me down. Ugh, so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that is what Sam and Henry are kind of supposed to represent, is that Joel and Ellie could end that way.
Yeah,
it's like
kind of thing.
They're definitely supposed to represent like I think they're supposed to represent like essentially the pain love can bring you. Not that Joel doesn't know about that with Sarah, but like literally like I mean it's an older guy protecting a young child. I mean it's literally Joel and Ellie, so it's a very very sad reflection. And I was literally like I remember Liara, I texted you this. I was like, I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't do that. I hope they don't do it.
Yeah, you messaged me with a picture of like Sam, and you're like, I hope they change it. And I was afraid to respond because I was like, I don't think they're going to.
So that's how it goes in the game too. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes. They made it worse.
It's worse here. Okay. Yes.
They made it worse because, at least for me, because in the game, Sam doesn't tell anybody that he was bitten. You find out because the camera kind of goes down to his leg.
Yeah, he pulls his sleeve up.
Yeah, and he's like talking to Ellie, and he's upset about something. You can tell that he's upset, and they Neil Druckmann had talked about in the official podcast with like making him younger than the game, him being older, he kind of knows that he has to hide it. Mm-hmm. But as a younger kid, we had that sequence where the doctor dies and he needs a hug from Henry. It's like he wants to be comforted. And so in the show, he actually tells Ellie, hey, this thing has happened. And just watching her try to save him cut my heart out. It was awful. I was like, why are you doing this?
And I don't blame her too, because like I mean she's been told by everybody that like your blood could like save the world. So like and they were just talking about like her they were bonding over the Seventh Starlight comics, endure and survive and all that. I really think Ellie was like, all right, this is my chance to save somebody, with the gift that I got, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah.
She wanted to save him. I was like, this is better, and I hate it.
Oh man,
so sad.
Right? When I saw that kid, I think that part didn't break me. What broke me was "Stay Up With Me." I was like, no, I hate all of you. I hate all of you.
If you turn into a monster, is it still you inside? I was just like, oh god. But
that's straight from the game too. They have that same conversation.
And then obviously, we were talking. It's like, how are they going to communicate? They can write on something. But that little like pad thing was like a great tool. Like it worked.
It was. It ended up being
like
great.
The tunnel scene, is able to add weight to his communications with people. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool.
Having her drop that on his grave at the end with "I'm sorry" written on it was just like, why do you keep doing this?
But then even Ellie, when she's able to write down, I'm afraid, or I'm scared of ending up alone.
Yeah.
And she didn't say that out loud. I don't know. There's something about that too, that it's like, it's kind of easier to be a little more honest when you don't have to outright verbalize it.
Right.
And, at first she was turned it into a joke about scorpions or whatever.
Right.
It's like, it was sort of that emotional vulnerability thing. And then it's like, no, wait, I gotta be for real here. Like that he's seriously upset. And so oof.
I still think out of like all the things that shocked me in like terms of the show, of the game, I'm still not over Henry's suicide. I'm still not over it, because that I watched it for the first time when I was 13, and it fucked me up.
It would.
It was
on screen.
It was rough.
It fades to black.
Well,
it just goes to black. Like, you see him point the gun at himself, and it's kind of like the same thing in the TV show where it cuts to Ellie and you just see her reaction. In the game, he points the gun at him and it goes to black, and you hear the gunshot go off, and you hear, Joel and Ellie yell or whatever, and then it just goes quiet.
Yeah, in the game, he like points the gun at his head super quickly, and then you see like a split second of the effect of him blowing his brains out, and then it fades to black.
I think there's a slight blood effect on there, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Now that you say that.
Ugh, man.
But it's
it fucks me up. Even thinking about it, I'm getting upset.
That was a rough one. It's seeing somebody just, because he's almost gonna, he's turning it on Joel initially there. He's just like, rudderless or whatever. He's not sure at all what to do.
What broke me is Joel
without a purpose.
Yeah, Joel trying to get the gun from him because like Joel was starting to like him.
Yeah.
And it was just
yeah, Ellie called that shit too. She was like, "No, don't worry, he'll change his mind."
He'll change his mind. He always does.
It always kills me. It happens in the game too, but in the TV show where like Henry's pointing the gun at Joel and Joel has his hands up, and then after a few moments he switches and he puts his hands out to get Henry to hand the gun to him because he realizes what's going through Henry's mind at that point, and it just kills me.
Yeah, he's like, please give me the gun, Henry, please.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
I think what also made me go, oh shit, is when they bury them, and then Joel picks up his Henry's backpack, and I looked at it and I was like, oh my god, that's his backpack.
That was Henry's backpack?
Yeah, it's like his classic, Joel's classic backpack from the game is Henry's in the show. Which is, oh man.
Wow.
Yeah, shit.
Wow.
Now I have to go back and look at
it. Oh, they're so ruthless.
Man.
My poor heart. Oh man. Just watching, he steps out and he's willing to like sacrifice himself to make sure Sam has a chance to get away, and like that it's all for nothing. And oh god.
And it's like he did everything to save his younger brother, and then it's like, ugh.
Which, speaking of that whole the whole sequence in the town with the sniper, I remember thinking when they were walking, and I was like, wait, shouldn't something be happening right now? And then there's a gunshot. I'm like, yep, that's it.
That was the thing.
And also, I remember being really pissed off because I was like, listen, I was having a lot more of a rough time getting that sniper in when I played than Joel getting onto it, because he was just like stuck around no problem. But in the game, you get assaulted by like 5 other fucking hunters and all the heck. And I know I played the game on the hardest difficulty, but still.
I had the exact same reaction when Joel's sneaking around the houses, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's easy when you don't got 5 other guys coming at you.
Right.
Oh, that's so funny.
Seriously.
I had the same reaction.
But the character I love with Joel, like at first I was expecting him to just cap him, but like I was really surprised when Joel was like, stay up here another minute or an hour and just like say you didn't see anybody. And I wonder why, because typically, like I felt like Joel would just shot that guy no problem, but I wonder what made him hesitate.
I think he realized, because like to me in the game, it's just like this young asshole who's like literally he's shouting snide remarks at you as he's like firing the gun, and so when you finally get to him, you're just like, okay, dude, die, please. And for Joel to be like, this guy has shit aim, and then to get up there and instead of this smart ass, it's just this old man who looks so tired and defeated. And I think that was like, to me it was a surprise, and I think it was a surprise to Joel too, that like this was not the person that I was expecting to run into. And to me that guy just looked like, I imagine he's seen some stuff. And we know that he was loyal to Kathleen because he, reported them on the radio, but I don't know. I have to wonder if he's like happy with the way things have gone. I don't know.
What happens if he doesn't and they get out? And, he's going to be a collaborator then. So it's that same kind of, and particularly that he had already reported, it sounded like, from the conversation we did on the radio, he had already said that there were people there and they were basically saying, keep them pinned down. So maybe he didn't have shit aim. Maybe he didn't want to hurt anybody personally. And then...
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if he really didn't want to... Yeah, like you said, maybe he doesn't have shit aim. Maybe he's missing on purpose.
Well, I will say, he probably got off easy considering what happened like 5 minutes later.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's true. He didn't get torn apart.
I was gonna say with Joel, he's like kind of just had a big realization that snap judgments on people can maybe not give you the whole story, and so I think that's the other side of him, like kind of giving pause there. It's like, well, what's this guy's actual situation is a question he's maybe asking himself now after the interactions with Henry. It's like, well,
that's true.
People have to do what they have to do to, there are things people will make any compromise to save, kind of. And, he knows that very well personally, I suppose. It's like
No, absolutely. And then the big old infect could come out the ground. Everyone starts getting eaten. And I was like, yeah.
That was horrifying.
This is awesome.
You said somebody's face was going to get ripped off, and I feel like we saw a very example of that.
It happened.
Yeah. I have never been more excited to see a man's head be ripped from his neck than I saw that. I was honestly a little upset it was in the background because I wanted to fucking
It was
see
pretty prominent. I don't think anybody missed that.
Yeah, I saw him grab Perry, and I was like, "Well, Aiden's gonna be happy."
Yeah. Oh my god!
I was disappointed he didn't get the death scene. I tried to foretell for him the fan service, but so it goes,
Literally, the whole build up to it, because in the game, Joel shoots somebody in a car, and the car crashes into a building, and that unleashes like a lot of clickers, which is similar, how they do it in the show. Like he like guns down the driver, and they explode in the building, and they open a hole in the ground. And I love like the build up, and especially paying off from last episode. Then you see this horde of all clickers, because they've been down there for like a long time, just bum rushing out. Like straight out of World War Z, just like overwhelming everybody, and oh my god, it was still terrifying, and like one of the coolest things I think I've like ever seen.
That action sequence was awesome. It also felt to me a lot
really
like
good.
a quick time event sequence almost of a game. Joel particularly Ellie running from out of the car to over to where Henry and Sam are, but like that whole sequence.
In the game, you do play as Joel, and you have to sneak around the buildings and then get up there to the sniper and take out the sniper, and then you have to shoot and protect Ellie and Henry and Sam while all this other stuff is going on.
It was really like super great for TV too, but I was like, it worked really well. Time event, like a sequence of hit X, oh god, no I, or triangle, whatever.
Yeah, I loved seeing because obviously some of it was like stunts, but most of the clickers were CG. But I loved like as they all come out of the pit, and like one of the clickers kind of comes out, but all of them kind of just like stampeder because they're just like mindless hordes.
Oh,
and
so
it felt straight up, because I love World War Z. It's like one of my favorite zombie movies, and I just love seeing that like overwhelming barrage of just like of horror, honestly.
Yeah.
And so Eric, what'd you think of the big boy?
Oh, that was very cool. I was tripping. It's like, it's a big scary guy, and just like walking up and carrying stuff. I was really curious how they did it. Apparently that was like a real actor in
he's huge.
Yeah, he's 6'6" with like, I think it was 60 or 80 kilograms of like prosthetic costume on, or
Wow.
prosthesis, whatever the proper. I don't know. But with
One of those.
with stuff on him.
Mhm.
So I thought that was CG for sure, or like I presumed that it was. It didn't like look like it must have been or something, but it was very cool to find that was like, oh man, they've hit heavy on practical effects with almost everything.
Yeah.
here. It's
They did.
so cool.
The child clicker
Oh,
that
God.
follows Ellie
Right.
into the. So there are no children infected in the game.
That'll get you a heavier rating real quick, I imagine. So that probably makes sense.
But yeah, so that was freaky, and that was actually they did auditions for child contortionists
Really?
for that. So
I saw. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I saw that's horrifying.
That looked CG to me.
they
Weird.
No.
No.
That was
No.
that was practical. And my God.
That's a person.
I would have bet money. Yeah, weird.
One of the scary things. One of the scary things about the cordyceps is just how it adapts to whatever host it is. Like, obviously, like the normal infected, like they just have them full on sprint and just like not have like any care for their surroundings. And then the clickers, they like use their heightened senses to like maneuver around and all that stuff. And the bloater, I mean, it could just be like a normal zombie, go for biting people, but like the fungus knows to use its enhanced strength. I mean, you saw it. It was like bonking people, lifting people in the air, ripping a guy's head open. It's like scary how well it can like adapt to the current like whatever situation it's in. You'll see this. There's like another infected type that I hope they do in the show, but so I won't spoil it yet. But it's like it really goes to show how smart this thing is, and like seeing seeing the clicker little girl just pounce on Kathleen and just eat her.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh.
And guess what? Guess what Kathleen's whole arc of vengeance got?
Yeah.
Most of their armed forces killed, and probably killing like everyone else in the quarantine zone.
I was just gonna say that's
Yeah.
probably almost all of their armed, resistance forces, whatever, in one place, getting whomped by zombos immediately.
Yeah, I imagine that QZ is gone.
Yeah, that's screwed.
Like whoever was still
Yeah.
in that box of interstates.
When Kathleen is like, that's not my priority right now, and it's like, if FEDRA was holding them back, in 10 days they erupted from the earth. It's like, man. And Perry seemed to know, like, hey, when you do something
We've
about
got
this,
a problem. Yeah.
Right.
This whole sinkhole
We got a monster
thing.
under the basement problem, but it's not like one monster, it's like 100.
Yeah, that was it's like if it was that much more serious of a problem, it seems like, right? Like then
yeah.
It doesn't, I don't know, there's no justification for some acts, but it starts to make more sense that maybe that's, the KC FEDRA is more violent and, extreme to deal with a more extreme threat potentially, or something to that effect anyway. I don't know.
Well, it's also just kind of like, hey, they were assholes, but at least they kept the infected from
right.
Bay. And now it's like, well, they're gone. Now we have to take care of it. Shoot.
Yeah. So that it was very kind of is I guess ironic or whatever, but it's like Kathleen can't give up the hunt for Henry, and that gets her. She could have gone away, gotten safe, and it literally is like her demise kind of thing. It's a good arc for her character.
Yeah.
I'm like, the conversation in her room, that was another hit me hard as well. It's like that. It's kind of like you can never go home again feeling like, like time always moves forward, but she's still stuck in the, like her childhood bedroom kind of. So
Yeah.
weird. Yeah. Ugh. Sad. The whole thing makes me sad. Just, she's awful, but it's also like, man, she's in so much pain as well, kind of.
Especially if,
Yeah.
especially if like if it's really true that her brother was like a saint, you know.
Yeah.
I can't really imagine what that's like.
But even if not, yeah, it's like, look what Sam did for his brother, kind of. You can
Right.
see how it might not even matter because it's family, kind of thing, I guess. Yeah. The whole thing.
They've done a really good job of like showing all the different sides of conflict with stuff going on.
It's hard to make any of the actors defensible, but they make a good case, as good a case as I can imagine for just about everybody.
Yeah.
And even Joel is not painted as an unambiguous hero. And
No.
It's just cool to see the morally gray stuff that always.
Except Bill and Frank, they were angels on this earth.
Their story.
Taken too soon.
Absolutely beautiful. I wouldn't say they were both without flaws, probably, but I don't know.
Comparatively to most other people.
That I feel. Yeah, you're probably. That's fair.
The closest we're gonna get. But this is probably like the biggest action set piece we've gotten so far.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I'm wonder there's only like 2 other segments that I think could possibly top it in terms of like intensity, which I won't say because we have somebody who hasn't played the game yet.
Mm-hmm.
But God,
there's one. So I have 2 in my mind now that you've said that. There's one that I don't think we're gonna get based on what I've seen from the trailer, but it could be wrong. So we'll find out when
it happens.
we'll find out.
So I was, that was the other thing. So for the trailer of the next one, we're all the way out in Wyoming, essentially.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah.
Already, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Tommy's.
We're gonna see Tommy.
They're already talking about going back to questioning what they've done to get where they are or survive and stuff again. So that's gonna be I'm sure another just heart-wrenching episode.
And I really hope that this episode, if I had to say like what I'm hoping for, I would love to see this next episode be centered around Joel and Tommy, and specifically like what they've done to get to where they are. Because like you said, like the highlight of it was like Joel and Tommy getting into an argument about like Joel's like, I did everything to protect you, and Tommy's like, I get nothing but nightmares of those years.
Yeah, it's like,
so
that.
I would love to see that. Yeah. I would love to see more of that stuff.
And they weren't things, we were murdering people or something, I think is the follow-up. And yeah, it's like that linguistic framing from both of them. It's like, yeah, you can see how it's just a thing Joel did in his head, and in Tommy's head, they're people he hurt. And
yeah, I mean, Joel calls Tommy an idealist and a follower, but in reality, it's just Joel is so cold and ruthless.
Yeah,
he's guarded.
Yeah,
he just kind of buries everything.
He's like repressed.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't think of them as their people that we murdered, and I kind of imagine it as he can't allow himself to think that way.
Absolutely.
Because he needs to keep pushing forward, so he just compartmentalizes that and puts it away somewhere and doesn't think about it.
He closes their heart to their suffering, and that makes it easier for him.
Yeah.
He's getting his heart is opening because of that little snarky gal.
Well, I think it's like you get that open wound from the loss of Tess, and then there's like this other person that you've now spent a ton of time with, that you have this like obligation toward already, or sense of duty, whatever. It's all caught up, and yeah, it's just the end of this episode, you see him kind of. They were talking about it in the post sequence as well, as like Joel realizing that he's allowed himself to be vulnerable to Ellie, or to his concern for Ellie, the same way that, or in a similar way to how Henry and Sam are, we're connected to each other.
Yeah.
And that's a scary prospect. It's like, that's a weakness in his mind that someone can exploit, and not like how you grow and, develop and have a better, fulfilling life as a human, because the world they live in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to do in this current world,
Right.
because you could turn a corner and that person you cared about is gone.
So it's just, don't ever get close to anyone, so you don't ever care when they're gone.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you heard it here from Eric. Never get close to anybody.
Oh man. That is something I'm sure plenty of people can identify with the sentiment of. I know have. It's not always easy to be vulnerable, I guess, but
I'm just Josh and you're Eric.
This one hit me hard. Okay.
No, it's supposed to.
It's supposed to,
My
man.
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when you play it in the game and it fades to black and the screen's just black for a while and then it goes to the next sequence and you're just like, I don't want to keep playing.
Right.
You're like, no, I need to put the controller down and walk away.
I'm just gonna sign up for more attacks like this. Why you gotta come at me, game? Ugh.
You're like, I need to recover. I need to put this away.
Right. I'm just so excited. I'm just so excited to see Gabriel Luna as Tommy, because it's been a while since we've seen him, because he was in the first episode for a bit.
Yeah, more Tommy.
Yeah,
more Tommy.
Oh yeah, sporting a very nice mustache.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, looking like a real cowboy.
Big Sky Country. It's got a denim jacket and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The denim jacket is what sells it for me. I mean, a denim jacket can make anybody cooler.
It's true. It's a fact. Just see the 90s.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't alive back then, but I'll take your word for it.
Don't like that. How do we not ever make it through a single episode without you making me feel old?
Listen, okay, what do you? I just have to be quiet.
Probably, I was gonna say it's probably not a you thing. I'm just
right.
lamenting it, I guess.
The future is now, old man.
Benjamin Button meme or GIF, I guess.
That's Malcolm in the Middle, but yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, you are Benjamin Button.
Jumping back to Joel buries Henry and Sam, and I found it really interesting and emotional that Ellie is the one who's like, all right, let's go.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Stop standing there, let's just go. And I think part of that is maybe she's started to kind of like push stuff under.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like, that's the only way to keep going forward. But I think also part of it is like she's just motivated. They lost Sam. She tried to save him. And I think part of it is she's just like, let's get out there and let's get this cure figured out.
I would be really interested to see if the failing to save Sam kind of gives her this doubt of this immediate, like her being able to really save people. I can totally see her having some kind of guilt over it. And almost like you said too, like she's kind of like closing her like herself to it. It'd be interesting to see like the comparison of like she's closing her heart to all that stuff just as Joel's finally opening up, right? So they kind of stand at like opposite sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, where it felt like they'd kind of reversed. Like Joel wasn't the one pushing them forward anymore.
So I felt like that was almost Ellie trying to take up the slack. Like it is the, like Joel had been doing that work to take care of and rely. Ellie was relying a lot on him, and I think putting as brave a face on it as possible, to me, that felt like her trying her best to kind of share the load or whatever.
That's an interesting take too.
I don't know. Yeah, but that's it. That's what it kind of felt like to me, because she does do that. She wrote the "I'm sorry" on there. You could tell that she was clearly very affected when she saw it all happen.
Yeah.
And like maybe she just recognized that Joel was hurting and probably couldn't deal with being, the emotional support person at the moment, and like needed some of that maybe from somebody else, kind of.
Almost like how Tess was to Joel.
Right. It's that like
Joel is definitely Joel. Like you mentioned the hammer like metaphor earlier. Joel's definitely a hammer.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
He knows, and he seems to kind of know that his gut instinct isn't always like the moral thing to do, like right in that sense, like ethically or whatever. Now maybe, or is starting to become more aware of that as he moves forward, which is another like. So yeah, it's like if he can recognize that he's detached from those decisions in a way that makes it hard for him to be a good decider. Yeah, easy for somebody else to step in and do that for him. It's sort of the same deal with, Perry and Kathleen, or similar to what I was getting at, I think.
Keeping in mind where the rest of the show is going to adapt, as someone who's played the game, I'm really excited to see where that goes. Which again, I don't want to say because I want you to experience it for yourself.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, we know what's coming.
Yeah.
And that's always the question is like, what is going to be an action sequence and what are they going to dramatize more? Like Bill's section was supposed to be this big action thing. And it's like, well, let's just tell this dramatic, beautiful love story instead. So then it's like, okay, what else are you... All right, there's a sequence next episode that I think from the trailers isn't going to be as action oriented as it was in the game, which is probably for the best, honestly, because you need breaks.
Yes,
and it can't all be video game shooty, runny zombie stuff.
Right.
So,
but hey, you can't say the Z word.
Yeah, I know.
I was just gonna say it's always there. It seems like their home is ripping your damn heart out. Pretty. That's where they're gonna come back to every time. So, a melodramatic is the wrong, but like emotionally taxing drama. Oh God.
No, yeah, for sure. And I think like
every episode, I feel like is one person's kryptonite. Basically, I feel so far.
Right. And I feel like because like some people, like my mom tried to watch it and she's like, why you watch this? This is like so depressing. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. But I think there's like small bits of like humanity kind of shown between the characters that like it gives you small glimpses of, well, shit, you know what? Maybe we can survive this, especially with, Ellie being immune, the chance to really cure the cordyceps infection. It's like a small glimmer of hope in this really effed up world,
Yeah. Yeah, and you hope that they can make it, and you want to see them make it against all the odds.
I think it also like says a lot about somebody, like what kind of person they are, what they'll do when when the odds are stacked against you that heavily. Like, is it when it doesn't seem like it's worth it? Do you still make the right choice, such as you understand it to be, or do you do the thing, or do you just shrug and say whatever, screw it, and take the relatively easier option? And which is what for you? They ask a lot of really deep questions in very provoking ways.
Oh yeah, and also cool mushroom infected ripping people in half. That's awesome. Not when I'm being ripped. Not when I'm being ripped in half. That sucks.
Jen, I would assume, don't have a lot of empirical evidence one way or the other, personally.
We got Ellie shivving not one, but 2 clickers.
That was great.
Yeah.
That was so good. Oh, man. She was like...
I was like cheering. I was like, yes!
Whips her knife out and is like, there's like an eye contact moment between her and Joel, which I loved. Like that whole sequence moved back and forth so well. You could like keep track of the space in a very complex situation like that. That takes work. And like they communicated that moment of like, Joel looks over to the car and then back at her like, oh shit, are you really about, oh God, okay, here we go. And like, then, I don't know, it just... short sequence of shots and everything was still oriented and you could track it all.
I really felt like there was a moment when Ellie realizes Joel is shooting to protect me, and she looks over at Henry and Sam and she's like, I'm going for him because then Joel's gonna start shooting to protect them, and they, like you said, they have that kind of eye contact and Joel's like, no.
Yeah, like, oh,
don't do that,
Ellie.
And she's like, no, I'm saving these people.
Yeah.
Help me.
It was very cool. And then, yeah, such a great sequence, too. The action. She's ducking under infected as they're getting their heads split open and stuff. It was so cool. Very fun, like, action sequence.
It was fun.
This wouldn't be anywhere near as terrifying if of all the clickers did, which is walk.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Listen, I know George Romero was like, oh, yeah, you should walk, but like, listen, like, there's nothing that terrifying about like walking dead. You know, walking zombies basically. But, like, when they're sprinting at you, I'm much more terrified of less of a, I don't know, just a walking kind of like shambler moaning than somebody who's like running at the speed of light towards me who doesn't care if he bumps into things.
Yeah.
That shit's scary, you know, and horrific. Like, fuck that.
I think there's 2 different ways to tell zombie stories. And yeah, if the zombies are front and center, then yes, I absolutely agree with that. But I think that you can still achieve this same kind of like focus on the characters and interpersonal conflict stuff when it's that oppressive onslaught from the outside. Like the slow moving horde is more like a natural disaster or bad weather or something, you know, it's that kind of thing. It's something you can be prepared against. You can, you know, deal with properly or improperly, but the real variables are people. And I think a lot of that still comes through here in this. So,
oh no, yeah, for sure.
You know, Joel's regularly like people are the real concern, not infected.
Yeah.
It seems like. So.
Yeah.
Man, guys, after rewatching the whole wide shot of them like going into Kansas City, I realized that even while there's still this massive horde sprinting towards Kansas City, there are still infected coming out of the hole. Oh my god, they're so screwed.
They are totally screwed.
They're so.
It's wild to imagine that's. So, like, yeah, I guess that sinkhole occurred, which is another, I was like, oh, that's cool, because it's, like, all limestone there. That probably could, if the truck blew up, it might do something. Anyway, but, yeah, you, like, destroy some major node or something, and then, bam, it's, you know, like an immune response or something, and suddenly all the zombies are there.
Yeah.
But then it's a hole, like an outlet. It's just wild. That's scary as all hell.
I do think they're doing a really good job of, like, saving the infected for the proper moment. Because in the video game, it's like half the time you're fighting people, half the time you're fighting infected. And it's pretty regular because it's a video game.
Right.
And I think they've been really smart about focusing on the people and then just throwing the infected out at the right moments. So it'll be really interesting to see just, you know, going forward, like where do they throw the infected in and where do they keep to the drama?
Especially whenever they adapt part 2, because there's one infected in particular that I am wondering how they're going to do.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I had that thought watching that episode, like, all right, we've seen this big boy.
Feel like a dog being spelled around.
Oh yeah, sorry, Eric, they get bigger.
WALK.
Yeah. They've just done so well with the show. I'm impressed.
I was gonna say oh man, there's not many things that I feel have evoked as strong an emotional reaction in me as this series, and in a while. So that's high enough praise on its own for me.
I think you said the same thing last time.
Every single time. If
Right.
it makes you feel bad, it's good. They did a thing. And that thing was like, they set out to make you feel a thing,
Yeah,
and then
you
they
felt
do. Like, that's good.
Can you believe that that Sam Raimi wanted to do a movie version of The Last of Us?
I'm surprised, I guess. I don't know Sam Raimi.
Can you
like what particularly connects him to the series, I guess, but I feel like that would have been let's make a movie on it.
Well, it's horror.
Yeah, he does. I mean, and the Spider-Man movies, right?
There was
Yeah.
an interview with Neil Druckmann. He said he'd been in talks to like make it a movie, and it was ultimately decided that there was too much here to cram into one movie. It just wouldn't work.
I'm glad that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that would have been. I can't imagine getting close to what ground you can cover through the whole of the series.
2.5 hours is like one level.
Right.
Barely. Let alone a whole movie. That's why I'm glad we're like in this golden age of like TV, because like longer form storytelling is much better than trying to compact like a whole video game's worth, but some of them could go up to like 30-40 hours into like 2 or 3. I mean, that's like it's not gonna have the same impact,
Yeah,
unless you're Mortal Kombat. Then it's a masterpiece, and I won't hear any slander against the original Mortal Kombat movie.
I'm gonna say a bad word against it.
You
Just
better not.
not better.
You're not allowed to.
It's just not the best video game movie.
It's not fantastic, but
No.
it's entertaining.
No. Hush.
The best
Quiet.
is the first.
I shan't hear any slander. I watched it when I was way too young to watch it, and it's still
Right.
great.
Oh, that's fair.
My brother and I still quote that movie.
Those are $500 sunglasses.
Yes!
Yeah.
Those are $500 sunglasses.
And puts in Goro and the Nards.
That movie was so silly. I love it.
Yeah, and it was
I forgot.
fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
I just got like a flash of that. Yeah, no, man. Ooh, nostalgia.
Right?
Good stuff.
See, I can make 90s references.
I guess.
But yeah, that's about all I have to say about the episode. It was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I cried a bit. And by a bit, I mean a good amount, but not as much as Bill and Frank, but I still cried a bit.
This one got me worse than Bill and Frank. There were a couple of parts in that one that had me going, but
Yeah,
I felt like I was welling up more often than not in this one. But that's me probably personally.
Right? It's like take a shot every single time you want to cry in the last one. You'll be dead by episode 8.
Get the activated charcoal out. Good Lord.
it was a gut punch in the game, and it was a gut punch in the show. So it definitely succeeded in what it set out to do.
Just let you have hope and then rip it away.
Yeah.
Takes it away. Is there anything else? Any other thoughts you guys have about the episode?
I will. I'm not going to be exposing myself to the opportunity to feel like there's a chance for success any further. Going the opposite direction of Joel, closing myself off.
Oh yeah, have fun with that. It's not gonna happen. But
It won't save you.
No, it won't. No, it friggin' won't.
Do you think we're ever going to get back to an intro sequence?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There's no colon, but probably. I would be surprised if like next week there's like some kind of like I don't know, like a Tommy Joel flashback or just a Tommy flashback.
I asked last time if anybody had any predictions. And
I don't think any of us were right.
anybody wanna get wrong about be wrong about any predictions this time?
This next episode's totally gonna be titled "Look for the Light" and not gonna be the last episode because I totally didn't call that at the beginning.
I'm gonna say Tommy doesn't make it out. That's my prediction.
I'm gonna say there will be no infected next episode.
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
I'm also gonna say Pedro Pascal is not going to be handsome.
Okay.
I'll take that bet. How much you want to bet? I'll give you what, like 3 to 5 again.
It's just failed immediately.
I don't think that's gonna work.
Man can literally come out of a garbage bin and just like, I kind of look like that.
Oh man,
you're laughing. I'm dead serious.
I'm laughing because it's true. It's funny.
I've never been more serious in my life.
It's because of movie magic.
Well,
He's got a whole makeup crew to make that look good.
Well, that and Pedro Pascal is good genes. Let me have my man crush, okay?
No, I'm not denying you your man crush.